All right, this video is going to look quickly at Audre Lorde's famous and important essay, Poetry is Not a Luxury, from 1985. So there's some stuff on Audre Lorde. Please click on some links, read some poems, read all about her. She's very, very important. And let's jump right into the essay. All right, poetry is not a luxury. Here she goes. The quality of light by which we scrutinize our lives has direct bearing upon the product which we live and upon the changes which we hope to bring about through those lives. It is within this light that we form those ideas by which we pursue our magic and make it realized. This is poetry as illumination, for it is through poetry that we give name to those ideas which are, until the poem, nameless and formless, about to be birthed, but already felt. That distillation of experience from which true poetry springs bursts thought as dream births concept, as feeling births idea, as knowledge births precedes understanding. So this is an important opening paragraph here. She's talking about the light, how we think about and reflect on our lives, and she is articulating that poetry is the thing, poetry is the practice, the art form that we give name to those ideas which are formless. You know, we take all these hopes, dreams, thoughts, and distill them into poetry. And she's taking this tack, look at her repetition of birthed and birth. It's a specifically feminine form. And she's going to, as we move along a little later, she's going to talk about how it's a specifically black feminine form, pushing against the patriarchy, particularly the white patriarchy. So this is her setting it up for poetry here. The essay continues. As we learn to bear the intimacy of scrutiny and to flourish within it, as we learn to use the products of that scrutiny for power within our living, those fears which rule our lives and form our silences begin to lose their control over us. Within this practice of poetry, we come into our own voice, our own identity. We can kind of articulate our thoughts, feelings, and then the fear, the anger, or the fear is lost around us. For each of us as women, there is a dark place within where hidden and growing our true spirit rises. Beautiful and tough as chestnuts, stanchions against our nightmare of weakness and of impotence. These places of possibility within ourselves are dark because they are ancient and hidden. They have survived and grown strong through darkness. Within these deep places, each one of us holds an incredible reserve of creativity and power, of unexamined and unrecorded emotion and feeling. The woman's place of power within each of us is neither white nor surface. It is dark. It is ancient. It is deep. Here's this darkness, back to women again too, but it's neither white nor surface. It's buried deep. It needs to be brought out, pushed forward, woken up, brought to the light, and this is through poetry. And here's where she's setting this up. When we view living in the European mode, think of all the European, think of the canonical literature, think of the dead white men, right? Everything like that, only as a problem to be solved, we then rely solely upon our ideas to make us free. For these were what the white fathers told us were precious. Ideas, right? Not experience. She's kind of pushing against this a little bit. At this point in time, I believe that women carry within ourselves the possibility for fusion of these two approaches as keystone. Oh no, back to, I skipped one here. But as we become more in touch with our ancient, black, non-European view of living as a situation to be experienced, here it is, not just in ideas, but experiences and interacted with, we learn more and more to cherish our feelings and to respect those hidden sources of our power from where true knowledge and therefore lasting action comes. Lorde has definitely read and subsumed Eliot's tradition of individual talent, right? Where remember Eliot talks about No personal, right? The kind of get rid of the personal. She's pushing definitely against that. Experience and feelings are every bit as important or more important than strictly ideas, right? So and she wants the melding of these two. At this point in time, I believe that women carry within ourselves the possibility for fusion of these two approaches: experiences, corporeal experiences, emotions, and ideas. These two approaches as keystone for survival, and we come closest to this combination in our poetry. I speak here of poetry as the revelation or distillation of experience. That's how she describes poetry: revelation or distillation of experience, not the sterile wordplay that, too often, the white fathers distorted the word poetry to mean in order to cover their desperate wish for imagination without insight. Damn. She's taking them down here. She's saying, the traditional white fathers, the white patriarchy, ideas and wordplay and clever to cover up the emotion, cover up the imagination, right? For women, then, poetry is not a luxury. It is a vital necessity of our existence. It forms the quality of the light within which we predicate our hopes and dreams toward survival and change, first made into language, then into idea, then into more tangible action. This is Lorde. Remember we were arguing in our class: can poetry do anything? Is poetry important? Well, geez, it's a necessity. It's not a luxury. It's a vital necessity for our existence, for Black women's existence, particularly. Here is what she's saying. Poetry is the way we help give name to the nameless, though it can be thought. The farthest external horizons of our hopes and fears are cobbled by our poems, carved from the rock experience of our daily lives. Our daily lives, our experiences, everything we go through, we cobble those, we make those into our poems, and therefore poetry can illuminate. Poetry as revelation, it's a keystone for survival, right? And she continues: as they become known and accepted to ourselves, our feelings and the honest exploration of them become sanctuaries and fortresses and spawning grounds for the most radical and daring of ideas. Once the experiences and the imagination and thoughts are cobbled into poetries, they become sanctuaries, a place of refuge, right? And fortresses and spawning grounds for the most radical and daring of ideas. The house of difference so necessary to change and the conceptualization of any meaningful action. Right now, I could name at least 10 ideas I would have once found intolerable or incomprehensible and frightening, except as they came after dreams and poems. This is not idle fantasy, but the true meaning of, quote, it feels right to me, end quote. We can train ourselves to respect our feelings and to discipline, transpose them into a language that matches those feelings so they can be shared. And where that language does not yet exist, it is our poetry which helps to fashion it. Poetry is not only dream or vision, it is the skeleton architecture of our lives. It's not this dream or vision, right? This kind of fluffy, otherworldly luxury. It's the skeleton architecture of our lives. It depends our lives depend on it. Possibility is neither forever nor instant, and this paragraph is a little difficult here. It is also not easy to sustain belief in its efficacy. Poetry, can it do anything? Really? Poetry? We can sometimes work long and hard to establish one beachhead of real resistance to the deaths we are expected to live, only to have that beachhead assaulted or threatened by canards we have been socialized to fear. Canards, unfounded rumors or false stories. Poetry, that's fluffy. It doesn't do anything. You can't, all the things you always hear have been socialized to fear, or by the withdrawal of those approvals that we have been warned to seek for safety. We see ourselves diminished or softened by the falsely benign accusations of childishness, of non-universality, of self-centeredness. Poetry, right? Poetry, self-centered, of sensuality. And who asked the question? Am I altering your aura, your ideas, your dreams? Or am I merely moving you to temporary and reactive action? Even the latter is no mean task. but one that must be rather seen within the context of a true alteration of the texture of our lives. So, poetry, and this in some ways, Bloom echoes this in the essay we read, which is funny because, Bloom says poetry is the true thing for altering our lives. And this is Lorde saying it here, right? The white fathers told us, I think, therefore I am. There's our friend Descartes, right? And the black mothers in each of us, the poet whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free. There's I feel, therefore I can be free. Experience, right? Poetry coins the language to express and charter this revolutionary awareness and demand, the implementation of that freedom. However, experience has taught us that the action in the now is also always necessary. Our children cannot dream unless they live. They cannot live unless they are nourished. And who else will feed them the real food without which their dreams will be no different from ours? Sometimes we drug ourselves with dreams of new ideas. The head will save us. The brain alone will set us free. But there are no new ideas still waiting in the wings to save us women, as human. There are only old and forgotten ones. New combinations, extrapolations, and recognitions from within ourselves, along with the renewed courage to try them out. Here's that courage, right? Here's the courage putting into action. And we must constantly encourage ourselves and each other to attempt the heretical actions our dreams imply and some of our old ideas disparage. In the forefront of our move toward change, there is only our poetry to hint at possibility made real. Poetry is the way out, right? It's the way to go forward. Our poems formulate the implications of ourselves, what we feel within and dare make real, or bring action into accordance with, our fears, our hopes, our most cherished terrors. For within structures defined by profit, by linear power, by institutional dehumanization, our feelings were not meant to survive. Kept around as unavoidable adjuncts or pleasant pastimes, feelings were meant to kneel to thought as we were meant to kneel to men. So this is, get rid of feelings, but she's like, this is everything that's important. But women have survived. As poets, and there are no new pains. We have felt them all already. We have hidden that fact in the same place where we have hidden our power. They lie in our dreams, and it is our dreams that point the way to freedom. They are made realizable through our poems that give us the strength and courage to see, to feel, to speak, and to dare. Poetry, right? It's a necessity. If what we need to dream, to move our spirits most deeply and directly toward and through promise, is a luxury, then we have given up the core, the fountain of our power, our womanness. We have given up the future of our worlds. For there are no new ideas. There are only new ways of making them felt. Poetry, make it new, right? Of examining what our ideas really mean, feel like, on Sunday morning at 7 a.m., after brunch, during wild love, making war, giving birth, while we suffer the old longings, battle the old warnings and fears of being silent and impotent and alone, while tasting our new possibilities and strengths.